I want to begin with Israel's strikes on Iran. Do you believe this will help or hurt President Trump's efforts to bring Iran to the negotiating table over its nuclear program?
Well, it probably hurts the ability to negotiate with Iran, but I tell you, I think that Israel's doing the right thing by going after the nuclear program. One thing that we know with Iran, they can't be trusted with nuclear capability. You know, they try to say that it's for utility purposes, but we know that they're sponsoring terrorism around the world, and especially in the Middle East. And you know, not only should it concern Israel, obviously that's what they would want to use it for, but it would also, you know, be used against Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, other countries in the Middle East that don't get in line with the Iranian effort of, you know, creating havoc in the Middle East. So I think the fact that Israel went in and took out the program, or parts of the program, and we'll find out exactly what they all took out, is really important. Austria just reported that they had good intelligence of a nuclear program. So I think the fact that Israel went ahead and made this move is good, because they must have been getting further and further along.
How concerned should Americans in the Middle East be, and particularly Americans who might have loved ones who are currently deployed in that area?
For those who are in the Middle East, it's obviously concerning. You know, while we were there 2 weeks ago, we had to, you know, hit a bomb shelter a couple of times because of the Houthis shooting in missiles. Of course, you have the Houthis shooting at Israel. Hamas attacked Israel back in October of 2023, and that war is hopefully coming down to an end. So you just know that Iran is going to continue to attack from every angle they can. They're obviously very active in Iraq at this point, and so there's going to try to be some sort of retaliation effort, but Israel seems to be having a good handle on this initial attack. It just shows that the Iranians don't have much of anything other than trying to get a nuclear bomb, which they know that's the one that we would all fear the most.
Let's turn to the immigration protests here at home. Started in Los Angeles, they're spreading across the country. In fact, there are some now happening here in Indianapolis. Was it right for the president to call out active duty Marines? Couldn't he have accomplished all this through the National Guard, which is usually the first units you turn to in a situation like that?
Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, President Trump is doing the right thing by putting an end to these riots. We saw these happen in the previous Trump administration. We saw this in Minneapolis and in other parts of the country, Oregon, Seattle, of course, in Washington, the state of Washington. They've had these riots over the past several years, and we see the destruction and damage. We saw what happened in Indianapolis. You know, the downtown was just decimated, and you know, businesses left, destruction occurred. And I think that the right thing to do is put an end to this as quickly as possible. And if it takes the National Guard, if it takes the Marines, you know, President Trump is going to do the right thing by stopping this sooner rather than later, because, you know, people's lives are lost. I mean, they lose not only life, but also we lose, you know, small businesses and people's livelihoods.
The Wall Street Journal reports that ICE is now targeting people who are in the country unlawfully, but who have not committed any other crimes, any felonies or even misdemeanors. And there are several reports of lawful immigrants being swept up in this as well. Why not give those immigrants other options if they haven't committed any crimes?
Well, I think eventually there will be that scenario. There's been some talk about that here in Congress, about those who are here undocumented, not citizenship. I don't think that's the right path at all. But, you know, there may be a conversation about that soon. But President Trump and Tom Homan are going after the criminals. Now, if that leads to those who are here undocumented and don't have any sort of criminal background, they may get swept up in that. And I think that's why, you know, it's important for us to go after the criminals first, and then we can have that discussion about those who are here undocumented.
Did federal agents overreact when they removed Senator Alex Padilla from that news conference with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem? I should point out the senator was at a news conference. He confronted her and was then pushed to the ground and handcuffed.
Well, no, I don't think that they overreacted. Senator Padilla approached the podium where Kristi Noem was speaking at a press conference. He didn't have his congressional pin on. He didn't have a suit and tie on. You don't know who he is in those circumstances. And so security and those who were there to make sure that every reporter was safe, every official was safe, any civilian that was there was safe. And the fact that Padilla pushed back and fought back, if you watch the entire video, he resisted the entire time. If he would have identified himself, and he could have probably had a private audience with Secretary Noem instead of approaching her at a press conference without proper identification.
Let's turn to the budget negotiations. At least 3 Republican senators have said that they will not vote for the budget bill as it currently stands because they believe it does not do enough to address the national debt. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, I'm glad that the senators are holding their ground. And, we all realize that the $36 trillion of debt is the greatest threat to the United States right now because Washington and Congress hasn't been responsible with taxpayer dollars over the past several decades. And so the senators know that this is a time, and I believe that the Republicans, including President Trump, know that we have got to grow this economy. We have got to get the foot of the federal government off the back of the American people and the American economy so it can grow. But also there is spending reductions that could take place, that need to take place. We just voted on the rescissions package yesterday that cut almost $10 billion. That's a good start, but there's plenty more that can be done. And I think that senators like Senator Paul and Senator Johnson, Senator Lee are doing the right thing by pushing this even further. And I believe that we'll get it done. Republicans are united in knowing that we've got to trim the spending that Washington has been doing over the past several years, especially back down to a size that's responsible.